This article was submitted by Patreon supporter Tim Stack. Tim, thank you so much. Big oil targets Long Beach wetlands, indigenous-led struggle fights back. This is in the liberationnews.org, the newspaper of the party for socialism, socialism and liberation. Would have been more effective had I not marble-mouthed part of the title. So this came out actually last month in December, but it's an important thing because it's one of the things we've talked about. We've talked about Standing Rock. We've talked about the pipeline going across the border into Mexico and indigenous people in Mexico fighting back. We've talked about how the oil and the mining companies are trying to get after land. Anywhere there's resources, they're trying to do wherever they can. They're probably bummed out that areas in America are not just foreign countries that we can just bomb and put in a dictator and come in there. So they gotta play by the rules. But this is a great article, and it talks about, I'll go into the details about how the beach oil mineral partners are trying to devastate the Los Cerritos wetlands by ramping up oil extraction. And the pressure is now on the Long Beach City Council to stop this land grab. And I'll go into some of the detail, but there's two indigenous groups whose land this used to be before the colonialists took it away, and they're leading the charge, along with some environmental organizations and grassroots. And this is the thing we talk about. They're going to come to your neighborhood. They're going to try to build a pipeline. They're going to try to frack. They're going to try to mine. They're going to try to extract stuff. They don't care if they poison your water. They don't care. They don't give a shit. So if you don't want to get involved, guess what? You will be, because somehow it will affect your daily life. So this is the kind of thing we all need to pay attention to. And whatever Tim Stack has sent us a lot of stories from Colorado and how they've tried to frack there, and there's been pipelines and stuff through there, and local activists have, just not even activists, just local people are like, wait a minute, this isn't good for our children. And this is what it's going to take, you guys, because the corporate state doesn't give a shit. They don't give a shit if you voted for Trump. They don't give a shit if you voted for Clinton. They don't care if you are a Republican, if you have a flag in front of your house. They don't care. They're going to take their shit and they're going to contaminate your natural resources and make it hard for you and your family to live. So let's go into the details here. Scientists acknowledge the complex ways these wetlands habitats support and help sustain the local ecosystem. But according to the California State University study, an astonishing 90% of California's wetlands have already been lost. Some big wetlands by me that years ago they built the big, apartment condo complex on it. The city of Long Beach sits on a vast petroleum deposit known as the Long Beach oil field, which this has only exacerbated wetland destruction. In the 1920s, the oil field was considered the richest in the world and established Long Beach as an oil town. So this has been happening since the 1920s, and this has only caused problems. There are now plans to restore the degraded wetlands pushed by an oil industry consortium, Beach Oil Mineral Partners, misnamed the Los Cerritos Wetlands Restoration and Oil Consolidation Project. See how slick they are? Oil consolidation. This is better for all of us. No, it's not. It's only better for their profits. Make no mistake. It's only better for their profits. They don't fucking care if you or your children are poisoned. Don't give a shit. Their greenwashing campaign includes a slick website which could easily be mistaken for an actual environmental group. It features idyllic photos of wetland streams shimmering under the Southern California sun and coastal birds flitting among the marshland grasses. This is what their plan sounds like. This is what they put on the surface. This is how they mask it. Restore ravaged wetlands by removing oil wells and pipelines and replacing them with native plants and restorative landscaping. Oh, that sounds good. I'm in favor of that. Eventually returning large parcels to the city. Oh, great. It's about time. In exchange, oil interests will get a 5-acre plot in a nearby section of the wetlands currently owned by the Wetlands Authority. There it is. A governmental environmental protection group, the Wetlands Authority, that's what they want. They want to get control over that. So they'll talk this whole big game cleanup and, plant some stuff. And yeah, they just want the ability to intensify extraction and build new infrastructure. Beach Oil Mineral Partners' plans include 120 new wells and a great deal of attendant infrastructure, including pipelines and storage facilities slated for constructions. Well, that'll help the environment. 120 new wells, oil wells, great. It entails plans to restore some sections, but further exploit other areas to the tune of about 200 million barrels. And what happens if some of that leaks, like what happened with Keystone XL in Sioux Falls, South Dakota? What happens to the wetlands then? What happens to the people of Long Beach? Local environmentalists pointed out that the proposed project will have the greenhouse gas equivalent of adding 11,000 cars to the road per day for the next 4 decades. Furthermore, while the process of drilling new wells will begin ramping up pretty much as soon as the ink is dry in the deal, that existing oil wells will be phased out over a more relaxed timeline, over 40 years to be exact. So they're all hippie. We're getting rid of we're getting rid of existing oil wells. 40 years. They've got 4 decades to get rid of them. They're actually setting up a mitigation bank to help finance the restoration. A mitigation bank allows developers to buy the right to damage or destroy naturally functioning wetlands by promising the creation or restoration of wetlands elsewhere. So if I'm just going to dig up and destroy your backyard, but I'm going to fix somebody else's backyard, you're cool with that, right? Typical of so-called market-based solutions, mitigation banks, like the popular and equally farcical carbon credit ploy, also part of the mitigation strategy for this project, allow corporations to sell or trade the right to pollute or degrade. This is the type of green posturing that large sections of the capitalist class has embraced. It allows them to avoid accountability and buy time to continue the rapacious pursuit of profit rather than addressing the climate threat in earnest or taking steps that would result in genuine environmental remediation. Who's standing up? At the heart of the movement to protect the wetlands and resist the current petrocentric restoration plan are local indigenous activists, including members of the Tongva and Ekjakamin, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, peoples from whom this land was stolen during the colonial era. They are joined by activists from both indigenous and non-native backgrounds, including a coalition of grassroots organizations. On a recent weekend, as the oil company was having an open house at the wetlands to promote their scheme, activists gathered at the adjacent and heavily traveled Pacific Coast Highway. The action climaxed with a march on the oil company's wetlands offices. Before police eventually arrived, the indigenous leaders addressed the assembly activists and led them in a round dance. Concerned citizens, again led by indigenous activists, came out in numbers to attend a Long Beach Planning Commission meeting addressing the project. The meeting stretched hours longer than normal in order to accommodate the steady stream of citizens speaking out against the oil company's scheme. Nonetheless, the commission unanimously approved the environmental impact report, effectively clearing one more administrative hurdle despite the overwhelming oppositions. Vote them out. If you live in Long Beach and you have these city council members are in your district, you live in Long Beach, find out who voted for this and vote them the fuck out. In December of 2016, as the Long Beach City Council passed an official resolution in support of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and their allies, acknowledging indigenous rights, the necessity for environmental justice at the overreach of big oil and with federal complicity. Was that merely the hollow platitudes of officials conveniently insulating from local repercussions to their opportunistic posturing? This is why you got to pay attention. December 16, we stand with Standing Rock, Long Beach does, but then big oil company comes through with some flim-flammy scam, they buckle. So thank you, Tim Stack, for submitting this. Anyone who's in the Long Beach area, pay attention. This is what they are doing in your backyard. And thank you for making us aware, Tim, of the liberationnews.org, socialist newspaper, online news source. This is what you guys get to do at the Patreon level. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood, and you too get a say in what I cover on this show. And this is one of the things I love about creating this show. You guys take an active part in it. You guys are helping show me stuff. I didn't know this. I live in Southern California. I didn't know this was happening. Long Beach is about maybe 15, 20 miles from where I live. Didn't know this was going down. But hats off to the indigenous people that are leading the charge. And as I've said before, clean water, clean environment is not just an indigenous or native people's issue. It's a human issue. If you like clean water, if you don't think this can happen to you, go talk to the people in Flint, Michigan. See what they have to say about it. Go talk to the people up at Standing Rock who were shot at with water cannons and sub-zero weather and rubber bullets. Go talk to them. Go talk to the people right outside Sioux Falls that now have to deal with this 5,000 barrel oil cleanup. So I really appreciate Tim Stack and all you other patrons for supporting the show. And those of you who watch and, hey, Graham, I don't have a lot of money. How can I support the show? You can like and subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed to the show. You can push these videos out on your social media, on Facebook, right? On Twitter, on whatever. Push it out there and get people to start following and paying attention. Because the Trump administration is awful, but Democrats let this shit happen all the time. I bet you there's Democrats on the Long Beach City Council. I bet you there are. There's no way there aren't. California's too blue of a state to not have some Democrats on something everywhere. And they're letting this happen. So thanks for supporting the show. Thank you for staying vigilant. And thank you for helping make Gotham great.